Morning, guys. Everything new under the sun. I got a few articles here that I want to take a look at. The first one is from the actually let's go back one. Latest news coming out of Israel. 2 rockets were fired at Tel Aviv. So Israel confirms 2 rockets fired at Tel Aviv Thursday evening last night, even as Iron Dome gets activated first time since 2004. So it's been a while since there's been any significant rocket fire, and Iron Dome was implemented again to protect them, and it apparently did its job. According to initial reports, 2 Fahar rockets were fired by Palestinian Islamic Jihad in Gaza, the second strongest group in the coastal enclave after Hamas, it says. IDF said that military still does not know who fired the rockets, and both PIJ and Hamas later denied reports that it was responsible, saying that it did not play a role in launching the rockets. So they were both fired towards central Israel on Thursday evening, with at least 2 loud explosions in Gush Dan region. And so Israel was caught in a very rare nap as 2 rockets hit Tel Aviv, it says. It goes on, military spokesman Ronen Meneles said that we did not have advanced knowledge of this fire today, and in fact it was a surprise to us. So escalations going on from the Gaza Strip, and in retaliation for this, the IDF did do a bunch of airstrikes. Israeli Air Force began striking targets in Gaza earlier Friday morning, around 1:30 a.m., in retaliation for the 2 rockets that had been fired at Tel Aviv. A red alert was heard in Eshkol Regional Council around the same time. So if you look on the internet, there are videos of sirens going off over Tel Aviv in response to this. So this is the latest news coming out of Israel. Rockets fired, and a response by Israel, by the IDF Air Force, firing into Gaza. So the next thing, and I spoke of this the other day, effectively about World War III, all the nations to be gathered against Israel, all the nations that are still standing in the last days, that is, and this is from the economiccollapseblog.com. Is World War III coming? Israel is on the brink of war with Hamas, Hezbollah, Syria, Iran, all at the same time. So Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Syrians, Iran, and all the Iranian proxies, which are Hamas, Hezbollah, and Syria, effectively, all at the same time. So you have a war that Israel is involved in all around its borders. On Thursday, rockets were fired at Israel for the first time since 2014. This goes on. Israeli military confirmed rockets fired. According to the IDF, the Iron Dome missile system was activated. There were no interceptions as both rockets fell in open territory. So the Iron Dome was activated, but Iron Dome itself basically calculates the ballistic trajectory of the missile. And if it's going to hit a known populated area, it fires its own missile to destroy it. If it's known that it's going to fall, if the trajectory is such that it's going to fall into an open field where no potential for civilians to get hit then it will just let it drop and explode, basically, because the the missiles that go and intercept the missiles from Gaza are quite expensive. It says it was inevitable that there would be a substantial response by the Israeli military, and airstrikes were conducted rapidly. It goes on and starts speaking about Hezbollah in the north. The tunnels. Israel was dealing with massive tunnels. They dealt with that. It says, for the first time since 1973, the IDF confronts the very real prospect of a sizable incursion. Years of fighting alongside Russian and Iranian forces in Syria have transformed Hezbollah into a formidable military. So you have strong militaries on all sides. Hezbollah leadership continues to threaten Israel with a new war. And as well, you have Iran threatening Israel, saying, if you touch our oil tankers, we'll attack you. If you do other things, we'll attack you, threatening them from all sides, basically. So this article continues on. I'll put the link in the description, but you can read it. And it speaks to Netanyahu anticipating a conflict with Iran is coming. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu startled Iranians and even the White House on Wednesday with a strident call for Israeli Arab action against the government in Tehran that was translated by his office as urging war with Iran. Now, is this part of the bid for elections. I suspect not. I think Netanyahu's more wise than that. He's not going to say something simply to get any votes at all. But this is a thing coming, and war is coming to the Middle East. We know it's coming. Leaders can see that it's coming. They're calling for it even. The whole world sees that war is increasing. The chance for war is increasing, and really war is ongoing right now with all the proxy units of Iran. It says, the writer says, Michael Schneider says, I've been warning that a major war is coming to the Middle East for a long time, and now we are closer than ever, and I believe that is so. So the world, all the people of the world can see something's coming. On the Temple Mount situation, and we'll briefly end with this, there is first fruit or fruit offerings being offered to God on the Temple Mount, and this is from BreakingIsraelNews.com. It says, Rabbi Yisrael Ariel, founder of Temple Institute, made a blessing over a fruit on the Temple Mount, brought by a woman who came especially from the Golan to give thanks for her husband's recent recovery from sickness, it says. So what is the fruit offering? Well, let's go to, this is gotquestion.org. What was the first fruits offering? Should Christians give the first fruit offerings today? And we should give first fruits of ourselves, our energy, and our time. That's always the answer for Christians. But the answer here is first fruits was a Jewish feast held in the early spring. This should really be a what is video. At the beginning of the grain harvest, it was observed on Nisan 16 on Israel's calendar, which was the third day after Passover and the second day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. First fruits was a time of thanksgiving for God's provisions. And so this is what this lady's doing, thanking the Lord for the healing of her husband. Leviticus 23:9-14 institutes the first fruits offering. The people were to bring a sheaf of grain to the priest, who would wave it before the Lord. A burnt offering, a meal offering, and a drink offering were also required at the time. Deuteronomy 26:1-10 gives even more detail on the procedure of the first fruit. So it's a Jewish custom, tradition, offering, something that the Christians aren't required to bring physically of themselves, but they are, I believe, the idea, the symbolism holds true that Christians should give first fruits of themselves. We should give the best of our energy to the Lord and the best of our time to the Lord, and not simply delegate some time at the end of the day. So that means reading your Bible in the morning, praying in the morning. And I'm putting my hand up here. I'm the first to say, you know what, I'm not doing this at all like I should be. And so we should be giving first fruits of what we have ourselves, not necessarily physical items like fruit or meals, etc. But we should be giving first fruits of our time, first fruits of our energy. When we have lots of energy, we should be doing something for the Lord, not when we're tired at the end of the day and then giving the Lord that. And that's a convicting message to me, for sure. And really, it should cause pause to think about what you're doing for the Lord each and every day. Do you give your best? Do you give the best of your day to the Lord? Do you give Him time when you're not tired? Do you give Him time when you have lots of energy in the day? Or do you do it when you're tired, so that when people maybe even see you doing something supposedly for the Lord, like volunteering, are you slothful and tired and miserable because you just want to get it done? It's something to think about. We aren't supposed to do things for other people to see. We aren't supposed to show off and boast about honoring the Lord, because that really defeats the purpose. But ultimately, in this world, Christians are watched. We are watched under a microscope. And so when we do things, especially when we're doing things for the Lord and when we're not, we should do things to the best of our ability. That includes playing instruments, helping others, etc. We shouldn't do it begrudgingly, etc. Well, so what does this article say? BreakingIsraelNews.com. 2 groups of approximately 50 people each braved a rainy but blessed morning to ascend the Temple Mount. So this plays into the whole idea of the visibility of the Temple Mount, the interest in the citizens of Israel, in the observing Jews, increased interest in going up there and offering sacrifices and praying on the Temple Mount and taking part in what they used to do historically. This is increasing day after day, and it's evidenced by the fact that people are bringing offerings to the Temple Mount. A call had gone out a day or two earlier for Jews to take part in Haliyah Hamanet, a mass ascension to create a presence on the site of the two temples. This is because the Jews understand that the Palestinians, the Arabs, the Muslims are ascending the Temple Mount. They're making their presence known on the Temple Mount, and they're getting mosques for it. And so the Jews are now saying, you know what, we need to show a presence on the Temple Mount. We need to start claiming it, use it or lose it, as they say. And so that's what this call was about. It says, while there, the woman who had somehow managed to bring some dates with her distributed them to those gathered. So she smuggled in some dates, apparently. Of course, you know, any praying, even the moving of the lips as if you were praying, is forbidden for Jews on the Temple Mount. And what do the Muslims say is occurring when this happens? Well, they say it's incitement of religious war, holy war. Meanwhile, the Muslims themselves can pray on the Temple Mount anywhere at any time, and they have 5 mosques to do it. It's incredible. It's incredible hypocrisy there, for sure. Each person made a blessing over the fruit prior to eating it, and Rabbi Ariel said one when everyone had finished. This ascent to the Temple Mount comes amid an uptick in tension and activity on the site. They're called Al-Harim Al-Sharif in Arabic. It is Islam's third holiest site. It speaks about the unrest there, where a Palestinian threw a firebomb into a police post next to the Dome of the Rock, etc. It says, for Jews, an unbroken tradition of thousands of years places Solomon's original temple and King Herod's one, which placed it on the Temple Mount. It is therefore considered the holiest site in Judaism, and that's a no-brainer, obviously. There has been increasing unease about the number of developments over recent months. Non-Muslim prayer is outlawed, with any moving lips or shedding of tears considered tantamount to a declaration of religious war. And so they can't even pray on the Temple Mount. Meanwhile, the Muslims have 5 mosques and are allowed to pray anywhere, go up there any time of day. The Jews are relegated to a certain time of day, certain days, etc., when they can go up there. In addition, there are concerns about changes to the status quo. And remember, it's the Muslims who are changing the status quo, not the Israelis, not the Jews. Regardless, they're saying it's a change to the status quo with the waqfs. I don't even know how you pronounce that properly, but attempts to build a third mosque on the Temple Mount. So interesting about the fruit offerings. As you can see, there's increased activity, there's increased want by the Jewish people to offer fruit offerings. They're even smuggling fruit up there. They want to do offerings. They want to have sacrifices. Yes, they did do a small sacrifice on a small altar. Someone said you didn't pay attention to this, or there was an altar. Yes, they've apparently cleansed and got ready an altar, but ultimately the real offerings, that altar will be used to burn the red heifer, which is to cleanse instruments and people for the official sacrifices in the third temple. So we're not quite there yet. They have they're gaining traction. They're getting there. They're awakening the Jews to the possibility of sacrifices on the Temple Mount, and this is one example of how they are moving towards that. And this is one more step, really, one more indication that we are moving towards a period where there will be a third temple. The Bible describes the ceasing of sacrifices, which means that sacrifices must have restarted at some point. And so most believe that it ends up coming at the beginning of the 7-year tribulation, or just prior, where they implement a 7-year peace treaty with Israel. And yes, Scotty Clark clarified it. I don't believe that it's a peace treaty with the world. Although the world will be super happy and the world will be engaged in it, just like they are now, they will be engaged in it, like the U.S. is trying to broker this peace deal. But it will be a peace deal with Israel, I suspect that they will, the carrot on the stick for that peace deal, to push that through, since Israel wants to provide offerings, wants to pray on the Temple Mount, will be the ability for them to build a temple where they can pray, where they can offer sacrifices and fruit offerings, etc., and practice their religion, basically, Judaism, and practice that on the Temple Mount, which they can't now. They can't even move their lips because the Muslims will say it's incitement to a holy war. So incredible times that we're in. Every day there's some incredible news that's going on. I believe we are in the last days, and this is one more pointer towards that. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll leave it there. We will see you guys in the next video.